Hi friends, how's it going? My name is Ren, and we've got a little special segment today called What Are You Working On Now? Where I do a little short little interview with indie game developers talking about what they're currently working on. And today I've got Emil on the show. So Emil, please introduce yourself and tell us what are you working on now?
Well, hi, I'm Emil. I'm indie developer, also based in Finland, and I'm currently doing a small project where the goal is to make a game within a month, which we will see if it works out. Very unclear, but this is the first week's progress. I started about 1 week ago as of this recording.
Yes, Emil came to me with this suggestion, I think, during the indie game picnic. He wanted to make a game in a month and also asked for my help in terms of marketing it, getting it out there, getting word out there. And it sounded really exciting. And I think actually doing the game within a month was a good scope for you as well. Am I correct?
Yeah. So it's been very interesting and fun to work with something where you have a very limited time because all decisions of both like design and implementation is like within the consideration that you only have a month to do it. So you like you want to keep things quite simple. So yeah, great. Uh, this is the how it looks after 1 week of working on it. It's a minimalistic city builder combined with a card game, essentially. That's kind of the concept of it, and I wanted to see if it works out. And I want to like the concept of the game. I've tried to keep it quite simple. So at the moment, you have your cards down here, where you can, for example, place buildings. You have a build building card, or you can forage to get some resources. You have the kind of action points system, which is basically your population. That's you can see here. So we have 5 villagers at the moment that we can use to do actions. So we can either do 2 forage actions or do one of these actions. You can also see up here that we have 5 villagers out of the housing, which is 5 as a standard, and some resources up here. So if we, for example, we want to place a wood chopper building, we it's the core concept is that you take the card, drag it out, and then you place the building essentially. So the wood chopper we need to place near the forest to be able to place it. And when we place it, we get a card added to our stack of cards, which is not shown at the moment because this is a week's progress. And then you can skip to the next turn, and then you can do your next action. So, for example, building a windmill. And building the windmill, as you can see here, it after we place the building, then we add cards to our deck. So in this case, we add the plow field card and the harvest fields card, and those we can use to do gain resources or stuff later on. So that's kind of the core concept. So if we place the farm, and then draw new cards. We can see we got the shop wood card, and that comes from placing this building. We can use that to remove some wood to get some remove some forest to get some wood, and do a new. And now we get the plow fields cards from the windmill essentially, so we can place them down somewhere near the windmill. So that's kind of the core concept, combining the you place a building, and it's basically have a condition of whatever is around it, and then it adds cards, or maybe it can do other things. For example, increase housing, give you some resources, add some population, or like increase your draw from the hand, or other like card mechanics essentially. So that's kind of the concept of the game.
Yeah, coming along, it's looking great. I like what you have so far. I mean, for a week, you already have something visual. You have something that encapsulates the core mechanics of the game. Of it's cards, it's city building, it's resource management. Even I did not expect that part, but I mean, it's it's coming along really well, and really proud of you for actually taking the initiative and following through with this. This wasn't just some, run of the off the cuff, you know, the idea you had to actually make this game in a month. You're actually making progress in developing it, and that's really, really keen to see. What have been some of your inspirations behind this game?
Yeah, so I've been obviously looking a bit on other city builders and card games in general. So one of the biggest inspirations was actually a city builder called Islanders, which I love that. It's uh, basically a very simplistic city builder where it only have one resource essentially, which is your score. And if you place a building, you gain more score from if you have, depending on the building. If you have, for example, place a farm field, it gets more score for placing it next to the windmill. And that's kind of it. And after you placed it, it doesn't do anything more. It essentially just gives you score when you place another building next to it if it wants to have that building next to it. Or it can, like in some cases, you don't want to place buildings next to them because you get negative score from that. So that's kind of the core placing mechanic. And what I like about this game a lot is the size of the map or the island is kind of a resource in itself. So you want to optimize within a very limited like size. So that's kind of the similar feeling that I wanted to have as well. But also, of course, adding the card mechanic, which is inspired by games like, for example, Slay the Spire, where you have cards with action points to place them and so on. It's like many card games have similar concepts that you can work around. So that's kind of the core inspirations from it.
When you pitched this game to me, I did not expect cards with the actions cards like the forage or wood chopping, but of course these also cost action points too. So it really, the cost of action points and also the limited space of your land. This introduces that concept of scarcity, which kind of makes the players, forces them to think about how they want to set their land, how they want to create the environment, and what sort of resources they wish to spend points on. So you have that introduced that artificial scarcity, which there are some there are some players like myself who, when they play these kind of games, they're heavily into min maxing, heavily into the optimization aspect of it. So making things as, I guess, self sufficient and optimized as possible is kind of what we shoot for. So this is very lovely to see. Um, what uh, what sort of progression throughout the game do you have imagined? Like, there's this one piece of land, but is there going to be more? Is there going to be an expanded area or something?
Yeah, so we have like progression can look in some. So currently, the only progression I have at the moment is the research cards that essentially have a condition that, in this case, you need to build a windmill and a wood chopper. So a wood chopper and windmill, and then after you're done that, you can basically met the condition. So of course, you need to uh, pay the cost of the card and have the population to do it as well. And then when you do that, you get other cards that are added to your pile or discard pile. It kind of is discard is shuffled into your draw pile when the draw pile goes out. Um, and so in this case, we get the fishing hut and townhouse to be able to increase our population and invite villagers as well. So that's kind of the current progression I have implemented. I think it's doesn't work very well. I've tested it a bit during the weekend, and uh, what I don't like about it, I like the condition part. So you need to place some buildings to be able to progress. What I don't like is that it doesn't give the player a choice in what buildings that you get. I would find it more interesting if you need to, for example, choose if you want. Maybe you can choose between getting a windmill or a fishing hut. Both buildings provide food, but in different ways. So I think that would be more interesting. So that's something I will be looking into doing. Maybe it's still a card, but the card lets you choose more than just giving you stuff. For example, now we get a new research card that gives you this stuff.
I was gonna say, like you said, both, like, say, a fishing hunt or a windmill. Yes, both of them can give you food. Um, But I guess maybe the differentiator could be, people's play styles. I guess if they prefer
Mm,
to have their land be more in the like aquatic area, like near the sea or such, or more towards the
mm,
fields. Really depending on how the player wishes to play the game. Yeah, I guess this sort of like polarized decision really makes me think of Frostpunk, for example, which
mm.
you had those decisions throughout the game that depending on like which side of the I guess of the orientation of your good and evil, or good and evil, not really good and evil, but which sort of ethics you prefer to play the game. Like you were given those choices, and those choices did end up mattering in the end. But you could
Mm.
still beat the game either way, no matter which choice you picked.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And because it's a card game as well, I think it's an important part of card games is building your deck. And of course you build your deck by the buildings you place down, but I think these kind of research cards is the biggest way you build a deck at the moment, and in that case the player should have some choice in that. So you can make a town that's based on like a fishing economy or farming economy, or maybe a mining and then selling the resources economy, or whatever you want to do. I think that's gives some more variation to the play as well.
I think the economy aspect can actually be fairly interesting with this style of game because there is many ways to build your economy, and when you're given those choices. So that could be an interesting aspect to pursue when making this style of game. Something to consider. Um,
Hmm.
one question I have, another question I have is, what are what sort of adversarial aspects are there in the game? What are the uh, negative impacts that the player will encounter, the consequences they may face?
So at the moment, because like it's you don't have any enemies in the game, so at the moment the only thing that you need to like that what makes a turn cost resources for you is that your population consumes the food resource that you can see up here. So each time, currently because I have 7 population, it consumes 7 food. So in this game, like currently I'm not in a very good position here. So increasing food is good. So therefore, like you want to like do the most out of your actions each turn, so your food doesn't run out. It works as a in the sense of the very short game loop, so you want to kind of optimize each turn. But as long as you keep your food up, you can take as many turns as you want, and I think that's a bit problematic. So I want to add like an event that happens after maybe 10 turns or something. I think what could be interesting is that you have a natural disaster or something. So maybe you have a flood, if like after 15 turns or whatever, and when the flood happens, it adds um, water cards, like flooding cards, into your deck. And when a flooding card come up, it's kind of can be similar to a curse in Slay the Spire. So you want to kind of get rid of the water to so it doesn't like um, you doesn't draw them all of the time, and it limits your action. So maybe a fire starts that can destroy buildings, and each time a building is destroyed, it destroys one of your cards as well, or something along those lines. I think that having those more um, like um, dangers that are not in like every turn danger, as the food is like something you need to consider all of the time, but you can also keep it up if you don't know how to play the game and balance your deck correctly. But having the long term things, I think that would be interesting, and adding some more interesting parts to the game as well.
Oh yeah, since it's turn-based, I feel like there's quite a few angles you could play with.
Mm,
The sort of
for sure.
disaster, the turn-based you know events that could occur. It kind of reminds me a bit of what was this game 60 seconds or 60
Mhm,
parsecs even, because yeah, every turn that happened, like there was an event that happened, there was always a chance that the bunker could have been raided, or
mm,
some disaster or random person could show up, or a beneficial thing could show up. There was always a chance every turn that something could happen. But of course, these sort of games, and I guess with this as well, if there's a short game loop, they're meant to be replayed. They're meant to, challenges are meant to occur, and the idea is that even if even if you lose, even if you don't go in a longer game loop. If it's a short game loop, it's still very forgiving. That when the game starts again, you still have you have the knowledge, the experience of how to play it again. You may have a card or something that'll help you out. You have your deck or something that'll help you out. Either way, you'll have something that'll help you out. But the fact is that the game loop is short, but if you lose, it's still forgiving to make you want to play it again and actually beat the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's because this is a game where you have like the area is limited, and after a while you kind of build up everything, and the towards the end. I say end game at the moment. I mean it's very bare bones. It's a week's progress. But towards the end game at the moment, you can kind of feel that you are limited more by space. In the beginning, you're limited by resources, but towards the end, you're limited more by the space, and you don't like you don't really destroy buildings in the game at least at the moment. So I think maybe after a point, maybe build a monument or something, and then you might be able to move to a different island. So that's something what the Islanders game do that this is inspired of by. It's once you kind of reach a certain point, you can move to the next island, and the next island can have different conditions. Maybe like this is a very forest heavy island, so you can get a lot of wood, but maybe you move to a desert island where you can build a quarry that gives stone, but you have limited wood, so you kind of have different challenges depending on the island. It's like you still have like limited space, but you can kind of need to try the beginning several times, but each time you should have some different effect that makes it more interesting to like you don't need to do exactly the same thing. You need to kind of change depending on the environment and such. I think something along those lines can work as well.
One thing I'd like to mention before going into my final question is that you are
Yep.
using the Godot engine for this, and this is your
Yeah, I
first
am.
first game using Godot, I believe.
Yeah, it's my first real project using Godot. I started learning Godot like 1.5 weeks ago. I don't know if it's like doing a game in a month is challenging enough as it is. Doing it also the first time you use an engine might it was an interesting decision to make. But I need to say I like the engine a lot. It's very simple to learn. I have a lot of experience working with Unity previously, so going from Unity to Godot was actually not bad at all. Of course, it has some systems that are different and probably have some advanced like things that I do not know about at the moment. But in general, it worked out surprisingly well, even though it's I don't know if I would recommend doing that if someone would do a similar challenge. But yeah, it's a good way of learning something new, I guess.
I guess that kind of segues into my next question, which is, what has so far been the biggest challenge when making this?
Um, Interesting enough, it's not been the Godot engine. It's been fairly straightforward. I think what's been the biggest challenge is finding what is fun within the game. That's something I'm still trying to struggle with a bit. Like, where's the? I think the game is interesting, but making it fun is not the same thing as making it interesting. I think it's fun here to be found. I think I'm still working on it. I think I have some bit to go, but um, like it's how small things like for example how many cards do you draw each turn? How many of those cards are actually um, a valid card that you need to consider? Sometimes you draw a card that you like it's not possible to play it anyway, so you don't need to consider it. So how do you make like each turn feel valuable and not just this is the optimal thing to do? I should always do this. So it's more about kind of doing meaningful decisions. I think that's what I'm struggling with at the moment. I think it's possible to get there, but it's for sure the hardest part. It's way harder than actually doing like the programming or um, like doing I made a custom UI, so you can see on the right here, it's a dynamic UI, so on the right here you can see that the cards kind of fill in their own information, but that like took some time, but wasn't necessarily hard to do. But doing the actual making the game fun to play, not interesting, fun. I think that's the most challenging part.
Yeah, on the challenge of fun, I think one advice I could say might be useful would be to look at other games that are in the space and the audience that they have, the reviews, the videos, the commentary, and try to analyze, try to figure out what aspects of those games do people truly enjoy when they're playing them. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, those games have an audience for a reason, and if there are aspects of those games you can also adopt as well that are familiar, that also help emphasize the fun of your game, then that's all the better. They are, games are often blueprints for other games. This was lovely. Really glad to see you work on this game, and please keep it up. Alright, everybody, thanks for watching, and if you have a game that you would like to tell me about, please message me on Discord or on LinkedIn, and let's talk about your game. Thanks for watching, see you again next time.